Well, listening to that, watching that, Professor Mark Swilling is the co-director of the Centre for Sustainable Transitions at the University of Stellenbosch. Professor Swilling, good afternoon to you. The issue around car power ships missing its allocation, do you think they'll be able to get through all of the environmental paperwork and get all of the approvals to actually produce by December? It seems there's a lot against them.
Yeah, there's a lot against them, including the Minister of Electricity, who has said that a 5-year contract makes better sense than a 20-year contract. And I'm not sure whether they could make a 5-year contract work at the prices that they quoted. They'll have to push up the prices to recover their investment in 5 years rather than over 20 years. So I don't think we should be looking forward to car power ships actually happening.
The issue around the grid and grid allocations, this court case really mattered to Eskom, but it also shows you how complex this is. People applied for a grid allocation, they were given the grid allocation, they weren't able to get electricity onto the grid. Are many of the actual companies which have made promises or said that they'll be able to get power generation onto the grid, have they not been able to meet their deadlines?
Well, yes. For bid window 5, there was a gigantic component that was allocated to one consortium, basically the mainstream Patrice Motsepe consortium. And they together had 1,200 megawatts, and they haven't been able to reach financial close. And they still have the rights to the grid. So that's a very good example of grid hogging, where based on the old rules of first come, first serve, they got their access, but they can't reach financial close because they pushed their prices down so low in a bid to get a gigantic piece of market share. When they tried to make it work, they couldn't because by then it was financially unviable. So it makes complete sense for Eskom to change the rules to say, well, it's first ready, first serve, rather than first come, first serve.
So Eskom changes it to first ready. Does that mean then that we're likely to get more power onto the grid more quickly? I mean, the financial problems that, as you put it, the Patrice Motsepe consortium have are not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, and it's not just them, I imagine, who've run into this problem.
Yes, except now everybody's learned, has burnt their fingers and learned their lesson. So investors are going to look very closely at projects and to make sure that the prices are realistic and that financial close is a real possibility. So that's a good thing. IPPs are also going to be less reckless because they will have seen what can happen. And most importantly of all, they can't take chances on grid access anymore because Eskom's going to be scrutinizing them as well. So I think bid window 5, where people have burnt their fingers, everybody has, Eskom, IPP offers, the investors, everybody have learned their lesson, and I think it's a good thing. So in future, I don't think we're going to see this kind of thing happening.
The issue about investing in the grid, and obviously Valapi Ntuli has to be quite careful about what he can say. I imagine, you know, these decisions are made possibly at sort of ministerial or departmental level. This is going to be the next crisis, if I understand it correctly. We need to invest so much money into the grid at a time when Eskom and government, and frankly everyone, doesn't have so much money.
That's absolutely clear. Everybody, one very positive thing, Stephen, is that the grid is now front and center, primary, top of the agenda focus. So that's fantastic news because there's many people been arguing for at least a decade that, you know, that needs to happen because, you know, we saw this happening from quite a long way off. So that's a good thing. But yes, there's no clarity on exactly how it's going to be funded. According to our report, which is called Better Finance, Better Grid, that we released, we estimate that the total bill to 2032 is 235 billion. 45 billion just between 2023 and 2027. And the low-hanging fruit, the good news, is where you have power lines, but you don't have substations. So you can put substations in quite quickly, and you can create 17 gigs of capacity quite quickly. Where you have to extend new power lines, like in the Northern Cape, that's 7 to 10 year lead time. So we won't be seeing new IPPs in the Northern Cape before 2030.
Anyone studying an LLB should perhaps specialize in the laws of servitudes and power cables over the next little while. I think they'll be busy. Professor Mark Swilling, thank you very much indeed, co-director of the Center for Sustainability Transitions at the University of Stellenbosch.